Hey everybody, welcome to Trading Capital's daily live stream of the market open. Today is currently May 23rd, and as we kick off another trading session, lots to discuss as we move forward in the market. So first off, we'll look at the S&P 500, which you can see we're down ticking slightly. The QQQ Nasdaq is also down ticking slightly, but you do have some strength in NVIDIA, NVIDIA on news ahead of earnings. So that one's certainly on watch. I think if we head to a new high, or at least testing the high around 315, that's probably going to be a short trade, but we have to respect that the market is weak and that basically the next big level that I have on the dollar, if we break out here, is going to be this 104.75 level. That's where I think the dollar can actually get a decent retrace to if it chooses to hold its gains. We do have some more economic data that is coming out around the 9:45 time frame. We have the services PMI and the manufacturing PMI, so it's going to be huge. And then you have 10 a.m. new home sales that should impact the yield and dollar market. But right now you have Fed Logan speaking, which is likely what's causing the yields to remain strong. If you look at the 2-year yield right now, the 2-year yield is just ripping higher right now, making a new daily high right now at 4.39. The big level is this gap fill. I think that's where we're kind of heading on the 2-year yield. I've prepped my members that for quite a long time, and we really haven't seen stocks respond negatively since they've started this whole yield movement to the upside. Stocks have kind of been in a world of their own. Tesla's down the pre-market, so is Apple. I'm looking at the S&P 500 as a whole here, and just bear with me 1 second. Right now, the pre-market data, we have 129 stocks down in the S&P, 73 stocks up. I'm looking at AZO, which is getting hit pretty hard right now. Skyworks, JWM, Qualcomm, Apple's down, Micron's down. So you are seeing some divergence. Meta's down, Apple's down. You're seeing some divergence in some of the semi names, but yet NVIDIA is kind of holding up higher right now. A lot of the strength today is in energy, XLE. I'm actually looking at natural gas for a long trade today. This level is actually very intriguing right now. Excuse me, I just have a little bit of a tickle in my throat this morning, but I'm looking at the XLE for some longs. It is one of the sectors that is outperforming. I'm looking at 22 energy names, and they're all up across the board. So you have clear strength in energy market today. XOM is gapping up just a little bit. You have Chevron also gapping up a little bit. So that sector is looking poised to move higher. And then you also have the XLF financials moving higher today, and specifically not actually the financials, but you have the regionals, KRE, which is actually positive on the session at this moment in time. So we'll have to see if we get some sort of momentum. I am looking at natural gas for a long trade. I actually do like this level to try to bottom pick. Basically, if I pull up the intraday chart, I'm actually going to take a long trade here and just put a little bit of a stop loss below that level. But I am looking at natural gas for long. Right now, you're inside of this initial little hourly bottoming tail. You made kind of another little one here. And I am intrigued to go long nat gas right here. So I'm just going to check a look at the Boyle level, which is trading at around 319. All right, so I just went long Boyle. I'm going to keep a very tight stop loss. I got filled at 319 long Boyle. So I'm going to keep a very tight stop loss on this one. 19. So it's just a starter, small starter position, very minimal risk. But basically, what I'm looking at on natural gas, I will stop out of this trade if we get a little bit of a close below this level. So that's kind of the line in the sand for natural gas. If we get a close on a 5-minute candle below this level, I will stop out of natural gas. So I'm going to put a hard stop on Boyle at around 315. I'm going to risk 4 cents on the trade. So 315 hard stop on Boyle. But natural gas is moving up, which is good to see. So I am long nat gas, or long Boyle, sorry, I should say. All right, what else am I seeing in this market right now? So specifically in the S&P, yeah, I mean, you have Right now, more stocks down than up, which is obviously putting pressure on the market at this point in time. A couple other important movers that I'm paying attention to. Let me just go through my little bit of a pre-scan checklist here. I know we do have some gap ups and gap downs at this moment in time. You had Lowe's report worse than expected earnings. So again, weighing in on that consumer discretionary side of the business. You have Yelp that is surging pretty high today. You know, if you look at Yelp, IELP, actually surged to the upside pretty nicely here. It's up over, you can see it gapping up. Let me go to the daily chart of Yelp. So Yelp is trading all the way to 36 bucks here. You're right into this gap fill level. It's probably going to be a short trade. I'm just seeing why it's gapping up. Confirmed reports that it's built to stake more than 4% in Yelp. Okay, so you have TCS Capital Management, which is an investor group that is building a position in Yelp. They've allocated about 4%, so that is gapping up tremendously. No real short level. I wouldn't chase this stock either. But in terms of where I would get interested in on the short side, let's just look at the weekly chart here. All right, the weekly chart, you can see you're kind of testing this high end of the range here. So you are into some pretty decent resistance at this point in time, but we should see it, we should wait for a little bit more of a higher level, so to speak. So you can see you're bubbling up into that trend line, but again, with the momentum, considering this is a strong stock in a weak market today, I would have to really wait to see it. I would honestly feel more comfortable if we let it pierce this gap fill, let the momentum, initial momentum, take it up. And if we attack this 38.40 level, 38.50, that's kind of the level that I would get intrigued on the short side. Because this is a little bit of a smaller name. I mean, we're talking about a market cap of 2.23 billion, only average volume of 819. So it can squeeze a little bit higher and overshoot the levels, which is why I want to play a little bit more conservative if we are looking to short this particular name. A couple of the names, Lowe's is gapping down. Dick's is also going to be gapping down gapping up just slightly. Zoom's up, Chevron's up, BJ's Wholesale. I'm just going to scroll through some of my other watch lists here just to see what else is transpiring here in this market. Oil's acting well today. Oil's actually up on the session. You have some weakness in the China stocks that is occurring. S&P is selling off more now, so I find that a little intriguing. I'm just going to actually quit this, go over to my data. So the S&P took a nice little sell, trading at around 417 in the pre-market. Hey Casey Lewis, welcome to the stream. Pleasure to have you here. So we're just doing a little bit of a pre-market checklist, scrolling through some stocks before the market opens to try to look at some trade setups. I am looking at nat gas. I am long nat gas for a quick little day trade scalp here. So I'm eyeing up that. I do have a buy level on the S&P in the event that we flushed a little bit lower. So you can see we're trading at 417. I would love to see the S&P. Let me just look at my other screen here. The S&P came down to 414.28 today. That's a buy level, 414.28. So that's kind of where I'm looking at it. It pierces this green bar. That would be a buy around that 414.30, 414.28 level. But again, with yields in the dollar strong, let's just be mindful that there will be some resistance in this market right now. And actually, NVIDIA just turned negative on the session, so that's going to weigh in on the Qs as well. So NVIDIA was a strong QQQ stock in the pre-market, and now it just turned negative on us. So we'll pay attention to that. Meta's been strong. Let's take a look at natural gas again to see if that's holding up. So natural gas is still holding that little pivot low, but it is looking weak right now. It almost looks like it wants to break this level, but you're holding inside of these hourly bottoming candles, which is a short-term positive, but it's not looking pretty at this point in time. And just keep a tight stop loss on that particular trade, the Boyle trade. Right now we have AMD, which is slightly down, gapping down. Meta gapping down a couple dollars. Paramount is holding strong as well at this point in time. Uber had some pretty interesting news, so I'm gonna look for an Uber short. It's higher. So an Uber short right now is trading at $39.45. The only real short level I see is if we got a pierce of $40 or likely even higher. So a pierce of $40 or higher is where I'd be interested in a short trade on Uber. Bitcoin had a pretty big move. Coinbase had that big move yesterday, slightly up in the session today. Coinbase is actually looking like a short trade. Let's just remove all of these trend lines, shall we? So Coin right now had that pretty big reversal candle yesterday, despite Bitcoin not moving. And then when you look, Bitcoin actually had a big move last night and is putting in a little bit of a bullish pattern to move higher. But right now, Coinbase has a little bit of a micro bull flag forming, but you're still technically trading. You haven't officially broken out yet. I mean, you're kind of on the verge of breaking out of this little bullish consolidation pattern, but you have not confirmed that. And there's still a decent resistance level up ahead. Basically, the level that I'm looking at Coin, if Coin was to catch a lot of momentum, we can short this gap at 67.38. But really, that's the only level I'm seeing on Coin at this point in time. And we'll just have to see if it gains more momentum. I'm seeing AZO very, very weak today. So that one's gapping down. AutoZone, this one's a little bit more careful because it's a light volume name. Seeing weakness in Skyworks, which is an Apple supplier. I'm also seeing weakness in Qualcomm, which is another Apple supplier. So that one's also trickling lower and coming down. Usually I would play the double bottom long on Qualcomm, but considering you've been consolidating here, this one actually looks like a short as well. If we head lower, O'Reilly, Amazon, Netflix is weak today, Cisco, Micron. Micron is probably a short trade. Let's just see what Micron did intraday. Yeah, Micron's looking like a short trade. So what I'm going to do is hopefully the markets get a little bit of an intraday bounce. But Micron's actually, you have a head and shoulders here. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. And if you trigger this neckline right now, you can arguably say you came very close to it yesterday. Basically, this pattern on Micron is a nice little short. It should take you down to about, this double bottom zone here, 64.80. So keep Micron on watch for a short trade because that one might play out pretty quickly. Would be surprised. All right, let's see what else we got going here. So Meta's down 0.69%. Nvidia turned negative. Apple's down 0.5%. The Qs, the Spiders, the Russell also turned negative. Gold and silver getting hit. Let's look at silver for a long trade because I know that one's getting pretty oversold in nature. At least on the daily chart it is. You can see that silver had a little bit of a wick on recapturing that 100 moving average. Let's look at gold, the counterparty. That one's also acting weak. I still think it needs to go down lower. And with the surging dollar, it's likely that it will. If we pull up the GDX, let's do this GDX check. All right, so the GDX is going to be gapping down. No real buy level I see on the GDX yet, unless gold were to get a big bid at this point in time. But you do have some strength in some of the regional banks that are holding up. So that's kind of why gold is probably weak today. Just keep natural gas on watch. I know steel stocks got a big downgrade from JP Morgan, so they are actually under pressure today. So that's interesting to see. Blackstone's under pressure, Church and Dwight. Coinbase is now negative. Costco's negative. You have CVS negative. You have General Electric softening a little bit. Home Depot's negative. Probably sympathy to Lowe's. Most stocks are negative. Home builders are starting to roll over as well. KBH is down. Coca-Cola is slightly positive. Lennar, another home builder, down on the session. Microsoft's down 0.25%. Netflix is down 0.75%. Nucor is getting rocked pretty hard. Again, Nvidia just turned negative. O'Reilly's down. Paramount's negative. Steel Dynamics is down. Again, natural gas is down. The VIX is catching a bid today. And some of the China stocks are down. So a lot of weakness in this market, which is why we have to be ready to see a potential downtrending day. You are getting a little bit of a few negative patterns occurring on the overall S&P. And if I show you on the SPY chart here, intraday, which I'll keep up, let's actually just divide this in two. So we'll keep the SPY chart up and we'll keep nat gas up. So nat gas is actually trickling a little bit lower right now. So nat gas is breaking this level. You will have some support at this major pivot, this breakout pivot. So that could be a buy level there, but again, it's not looking that powerful. But until you get an hourly close below these pivots, you have to respect that there's some buying pressure that is coming down. You had a nice little volume surge on this initial candle, which means that although there were a lot of sellers there were also buyers. All right, markets are set to open, so we're going to watch the SPY. We're watching natural gas. We're long oil already at 319, which you can actually get a little bit lower now. But many stocks are down at this point in time, and we'll have to see what type of action we get. All right, so SPY's bouncing just a little bit off of its pre-market level. So again, strength in energy, strength in the financial services. You have Zion, RE up, AIG, CMA, Fifth Third Bank. Let's see what JP Morgan's doing. You have MasterCard down, Wells Fargo down, Citigroup, Bank of America is weak. JP Morgan's basically flat right now. Our markets are opening in 2 minutes. So we're just going to settle into this market, see how it opens, see how it closes. China stocks are very weak again. So they've been just so volatile all over the place. You have weakness in Costco today and Walmart, probably in sympathy again. A little bit to probably Lowe's. Nat gas is trickling lower now. All right, so we're set to open in less than 1 minute. Less than 1 minute. Here we go, guys. Markets will be opening. All right, the markets are open. Markets are open. Gap down in the spiders, trickling a little bit lower here. You're hitting a first Fibonacci support level. Tesla's down 1.43. Amazon, most of the mega caps are negative and weak. You have Micron rolling over. Apple's starting to trickle down a little bit more. Nvidia's trying to get a pump up here. So markets are under a little bit of pressure this morning. AMD's pushing up. You have 163 stocks down right now. More are falling. Still strength in energy, financial services. AMD's trying to push up. Wow, AMD's looking like a very, very strong name right now. The Qs are trying to push up. Take a look at AMD soaring, ripping higher. Wow, that's a big move on AMD. Let's take a look at Capital One. I'm actually going to short Capital One if it hits this 200 moving average. You have the dollar softening. Meta's catching a big bid, so is Micron. Netflix is still weak. Amazon's weak. Coinbase is looking strong. Microsoft's pushing up. If AMD gets to 110, it's a short. 110, we can short AMD. Spiders are getting a big bid off the lows. Nat Gas is trying to push up. So I am interested in shorting AMD at 110. At 110, which it's coming up there now. Nat Gas is still trying to push up. Spiders had a pretty big bounce off the lows, but still acting slightly weak on the session. You have PAC-W that's up 17%. That's clear momentum play to the upside. Nvidia turned green. Mars green. Microsoft turned green. Apple's still weak. You have 292 stocks down in the S&P, 130 stocks up. The strength is still in energy and financial services. Apple's at the low of the session. With Apple weak, it's going to be very hard for this market to push higher. But not saying it can't. All right, AMD is coming up into that short level, guys. Keep your eye on AMD at 110. 110, I am going to short AMD. So we're almost up into that level now. And I'm going to grab a short here at 100.9. 100.9 on Capital One. 100.9. So I'm short Capital One at 100.9. And you can see it is pulling in there. AMD is approaching our short level. spiders are seeing some near-term distribution. Apple's trying to catch a small bid. Here comes the move in AMD. Get ready for AMD. Alright guys, I'm going to short AMD here if it gets above 110. It's almost there. It is almost there, just seeing some slight little resistance. We're in the money nicely. I'm going to protect this now with a break-even stop loss on Capital One. We're in the money by 30 cents here. So that's good to see. Bitcoin's softening up. Regionals are acting okay. The Russell's pulling off the highs. All right, AMD, I'm short at 110.20. 110.20 short on AMD. I have 100 shares. I have 100 shares on AMD. I'm short on AMD at 110.20. All right, I'm going to protect Capital One with a break even at 100.7. 100.7 break even. So I'm going to protect 20 cents on the trade. Nvidia's ripping, Tesla's ripping, Microsoft is ripping. Seems like a little bit of a blow off top coming in the QQQs here. So we're in the money on our Capital One by about 40 cents. AMD, we're in the money about 20 cents. Nat gas is kind of going a little bit against us, but I'm going to add to my Boyle position at around 310, maybe 308. Markets are still acting well. All right, so we're in the money nicely on these couple of these trades. AMD's pulling in nicely. Capital One's acting well. Still, the spiders are at the lows of the chart. Let's see if we can get a little bit more downside in this market. Nvidia's still acting well. Tesla's pulled off of the highs. Nat gas is trickling a little bit lower. AT&T's weak. Pinterest is weak. Palantir's strong today. Catching momentum. Costco's weak. It seems like a lot of the staple names are breaking down. Still seeing 302 stocks down in the S&P, 124 stocks up. AutoZone is the worst performing stock in the S&P, along with some steel stocks, Nucor, Pulte Homes. And then you have Lowe's, which is actually up nicely now, AMD. Spiders are trickling lower now. Nat gas is dumping. So I'm still short AMD, which we're in the money. I'm short Capital One, which we're in the money. For now, the spiders look like they want to try to move a little bit higher. Dollars softened just a little bit. All right, AMD is pushing higher now. It's making a new nominal high in the trend. So that stock is very, very strong today. Capital One's pushing higher, so the market's trying to move up here. Tesla's trying to push up. Microsoft had a big sell wick down. Apple got a bearish close outside of a range, so we'll see if that affects the market. But the spiders are trying to push up. You have some pretty good momentum in this market to the upside at this point in time. Let's look at ACAD. All right, I'm going to add to my AMD short at 111. So I'll add to my AMD at 111. Spiders are still weak right now, but they are trying to push up. Capital One's pushing higher, AMD's still pushing higher, but these markets may resume a downtrend. We just have to be patient. I know, what was the stock? ACAD that you mentioned. Let me just pull that up on my other screen and do some work here. That stock I know is super extended. So daily long entry at 25 with a stop loss at 23.21 with a price target of 28 with a 2-to-1 win ratio. I mean, that could work, but you're already lower than that 25 entry, so you can get a little bit lower. I would personally wait for a retrace. You know, again, we have to keep in mind that the market is weak right now. This is a pharmaceutical name. It could work. I mean, it absolutely could work, especially if the markets catch a bounce. Volume's fairly good today, 1.31 million, so that's not bad at all. I would personally wait for a pullback back to around at least 24.60 on ACAD, preferably even 24.45. I'm going to add to my AMD short here at 111. At 111. So it came 1 penny from hitting my level on AMD. It came within 1 penny. Seeing Apple rip higher now, so that's going to help the market. Apple's starting to participate. I'll add to my Capital One short if we press through to the 101.50 level. 101.50 I'll add to my Capital One short. All right, so AMD is coming in pretty hard now. The semis are starting to roll over pretty hard here. I'm looking at natural gas. I'm looking at adding some natural gas. That one's very intriguing on the long side via Boyle. Nvidia is starting to roll over pretty hard here now. Nvidia is pretty much reversing all the gains. Get ready to add to the Capital One short at 101.50. 101.50 I will add to my Capital One short. You're seeing the spiders soften up a little bit more now. So AMD softening up just a tiny bit at our level still. Capital One is still surging higher. 101.50 I'll add, and then another at 102. Some news came out that we're nowhere near a debt ceiling deal via McCarthy, so we'll see how the markets respond to that news. Apple's falling now some more. Nat gas is hitting the hourly 200 MA. Capital One I just added at 101.52. 101.52 to the short side. Brings my average up now nicely. My average now is 101.20. 101.20. Next add is 102. We're seeing Tesla ripping higher. The spiders are ripping higher now. AMD is still hovering off of our level. Capital One, we're slightly out of the money. But we're seeing the spiders move up now. And I just added a little bit to the Boyle position at 311. So my average on Boyle right now is 313. AMD is still acting well. Capital One is surging. Netflix is pushing higher. So markets are looking much better right now and constructive to move higher. You have steel stocks acting very weak. Home builders are getting hit following that steel stock demand. Spiders are still down, but they're trying to push up on the session. Apple is at the low of the session, so it's pushing this market back down. Right now in the S&P, we have 270 stocks down, 158 stocks up. Looks like we may be heading for another downtrending session in the market. But the regionals are holding up. Banks are holding up okay. AMD is starting to soften up. So we're short AMD, we're long Boyle, and we're short Capital One. AMD, we're slightly in the money. Capital One, we're slightly out of the money. Hovering off of the lows here. And one of the reasons the spiders and the Qs are so weak right now is because of Apple alone, but then you have Tesla ripping higher and surging. So there's pockets of strength still in the mega caps, but there's definitely weakness in Apple, which is going to weigh this market down. So look at Apple. Apple had that big bounce and a huge reversal back to the downside. Look at AMD coming in pretty hard now. Even if you look at NVIDIA was positive pre-market, having a big reversal candle to the downside. We'll see if it takes out this low. But right now, markets are okay. They're okay. Capital One is surging higher again. So 102 will be the next add level. I'm going to protect AMD here with a 110 stop loss, a 110 stop loss in the money. All right, we're moving down here. We're moving down on AMD. All right, I'm moving my stop loss to 110.90. 110.90. Get ready to add to Capital One short. Get ready to add to Capital One short. All right, I'm moving my stop to now 109.80. 109.80. We're still in short AMD, 109.80. Come on, AMD. Give us some more weakness. Get ready to add to Capital One at 102. All right, I just added to Capital One at 102.10. 102.10 short, so it's a 3-6 position short on Capital One. Brings my average now to 101.71. I just got stopped out of AMD for a 40-cent gain, so that's a nice win. 109.80. So a nice 40-cent gain on AMD. This one looks interesting if we get a retrace to short again, but it needs to push higher. All right, so we'll manage Capital One. Let's look at the spiders here. Nat gas is getting a little bit of a bid off of the lows, but nothing crazy. You can see the spiders starting to peel away a little bit more, kind of mimicking, Capital One's kind of mimicking the spiders. You can see two green candles, two big green candles to the upside. I'm still seeing weakness in Apple, Nvidia. Capital One's holding up though. At this point in time, AMD is still softening, new low on Nvidia. Netflix is rolling over now. Nat gas is starting to trickle down lower. Yields are still at the high of the session. Let's take a look at Palantir, and Tesla's still holding up. All right, so we have some more economic data coming out. So the services PMI came out better than expected, and it's actually lifting the markets right now. So that came in better than expected. So just one trade winner in the books for us. We're still short Capital One, which right now it's acting very, very well and pushing higher. The next short level on Capital One would be around the 102.85 level. Sorry, actually 102.75. Palantir's holding up, the S&P's holding up. Spiders look like they want to maybe attack that gap fill. Nvidia big push. Apple's still weak. Microsoft's still off of the lows, but off of the highs as well. Bitcoin softened up. The Russell's actually doing phenomenally well right now. Still in the S&P of 242 stocks down, 187 stocks up. You have the NASDAQ 100 trying to push up higher on the session. I know China stocks are still weak. A little bit of reversal coming in on the spiders now. Nat gas is trying to catch a small bid. So we're now in the money on our Boyle position. So if we take a look at nat gas, that is trying to move up. Natural gas is pushing up. We have a long 2-6 position on Boyle at 313. So nat gas is trying to make a little bit of a bounce. Let's see if it closes on the hourly chart below this wick or if it can recapture that. If it can recapture that, that's a nice bullish close. We are long oil at 313 here. Oil is acting well, starting to push up. Nvidia is trying to push up some more. Nvidia is pushing up some more. Spiders are trying to push up some more. So markets are fighting here. Markets are certainly fighting. You have healthcare that's weak today. Some leaders like Vertex Pharmaceuticals are rolling over. Home builders are also seeing some downside momentum. Meta's trying to go positive. Microsoft's negative still. Netflix is slightly negative. Nucor is down pretty substantially. Nvidia is still negative. O'Reilly's down 1.69%. Paramount's up a couple percent. Again, steel stocks are under a lot of pressure today. The VIX is trying to move up. Capital One still holding up. Let's take a look at AI stocks. So AI is trying to go positive as well. The S&P is trying to push up some more. Nat gas is moving higher. It's good to see. One stock on the long side we can keep an eye on, especially if nat gas gets moving, is AR. AR looks like it's poised to move higher. So Capital One looks like it wants to have a 3-bar surge into resistance there. Keep looking at Palantir. Palantir's moving up. Spiders are still acting weak though. They are off of the lows and trying to move up. But really they're still down in the session. They might want to attack that gap fill. We'll just have to wait and see. Looking at AR for a long because nat gas is starting to catch a little bit of a momentum bid to the upside. Trying to recapture that main pivot on an hourly close. So it looks like it may do it. AR looks interesting for a long here. Let's look at EQT. EQT is trying to move up. Nat gas is getting a big push, so we're now in the money nicely on our Boyle position. BOIL, 3 cents in the money. I have 6,000 shares on Boyle. Capital One's pushing up. All right, I'm going to go long EQT here at 36.42. 36.42 long EQT. Stop loss is 36.32. So hard stop at 36.32, but I'm long EQT at 36.42. 1/6 position. Let's see if we can ride this one up a little bit, especially if the market wants to move up. Capital One's trying to push up. All right, I'm going to protect my Boyle position with a break even at 313. A break even at 313 on Boyle. Nice little wick up in nat gas, that's for sure. AMD is pushing back to the high side of the chart. Capital One still acting well. All right, EQT is even moving up now nicely. So EQT is starting to move up. Nat gas is trying to hold that hourly bottoming tail. I'll pull up that chart just to show you. Let's go, nat gas. Push, push, push. It's a big push in nat gas. Come on. Capital One is still pushing higher. I'm going to short Capital One at 102.75. That would be our 4th add on the position. Big push in nat gas coming in here, guys. Let's see if we can get more. This is beautiful. Come on, nat gas. What we want to see on the hourly chart, which closes in about 50 seconds, is right now you are holding above this pivot. So that's a positive right now. Look at this move in nat gas, guys. Oh yes. Oh yes. It's moving. It is moving. Big push in nat gas, big push in EQT. I'm going to move my EQT stop loss up to about 36.40 now. So now I'm only risking basically 2 cents on the trade. 36.42, just in case the spiders soften up and weaken. But with nat gas soaring and roaring, take a look at our Boyle position. That one's moving up nicely. We are in the money beautifully there with a hard break-even stop loss. So again, I'm in the money 4 cents times 6,000 shares now. We do have more data coming out. Manufacturing PMI came in horrific, a miss. It's now in contraction territory. S&P Global also came in hotter. New home sales came in better than expected. So it's mixed data across the board. Very mixed data across the board. Let's see how the spiders are reacting. They had initial wick up, and now they're pushing. They're trying to push up here. Let's see on the 5-minute chart what's going on. So we can see the volatility. Capital One starting to soften up just a little bit here. But a huge miss in the manufacturing PMI right now. It hasn't really affected the dollar too much. Nat gas did get that bullish hourly close. But the new home sales came in better, and services PMI came in better, but manufacturing PMI came in better. So it's really showing us that we're a service-based economy. Look at Capital One starting to come in pretty sharply now. Here we go. Here we go. All right, I am going to put a stop loss at 316 now on Boyle. A stop loss at 316, so I'm going to be blocking in at least a penny gain on the nat gas trade. EQT is close to stopping us out, but we're still slightly in the money on that trade. Capital One starting to come in a little bit now. Spiders are still hovering off of the highs. They tried wicking up, but they haven't been able to take out that wick. Tesla's still surging much higher now. Nvidia's pushing up again, so this should help the market even if Apple starts participating. Spiders are still seeing some weakness though. Capital One is coming in pretty hard now. We're almost in the money on Capital One. Alright guys, I just got stopped out of Boyle for 1 cent gain at 316, so 1 cent gain. So that's a nice little winner. So we're 2 for 2 right now. We're just managing this Capital One stop loss at 36.42 because I'm seeing the market looking a little fragile right now. So put a break-even stop loss at 36.42 on EQT, and then we'll basically be having no risk on that trade. So Capital One's coming in a little bit more now. EQT still off of our level. Nat gas is still trying to push higher now. Hopefully that can keep pushing. Nvidia's strong. AMD's still strong. Let's take a look at AMD here. AMD's pushing up. This looks like another short trade at these levels. So I'm going to grab some AMD short here at 110.76. 110.76 short AMD. Alright, and AMD's now coming in some more. Markets are looking a little bit softer. Capital One's coming in. EQT's pushing up, so I'm going to move my stop loss on EQT to about 36.44, locking in 2 cents. 36.44, locking in 2 cents. Hard stop, because I'm seeing, again, the markets are a little fragile right now, and they could be vulnerable to more downside. Nvidia's softening up. So at least all of the economic data is in right now. It did soften up the dollar, and markets are still softening. Oil's pushing up. Regionals, Russell's strong today. Alright, AMD, I'm going to move my stop loss on AMD to break even now. Capital One's coming in nice. That's beautiful to see. Let's see if we can get some downtrending action. EQT's pushing up. We're in the money about now. 8 cents on that trade. 8 cents times, I have 400 shares in that position. Still a starter. So I'm seeing natural gas soften up just a tiny bit now, so that's a little concerning. Alright, so EQT may stop us out. 36.45. I just got stopped out of EQT for a 2 cent gain. I'm seeing the spiders break down and nat gas, so that's another winner. It's a small one, nothing too crazy to get excited about. but that did stop us out with a small gain at 36.44. So we have Capital One on the short side, and we have AMD on the short side. Both were in the money. Well, Capital One were slightly out of the money, but AMD, now I'm going to move my stop loss to 110.60, locking in 16-cent gain. All right, it's falling even more now. Let's see if we can get some more downside on AMD. I will look for a cover below 110, hard stop at 110.60. I'm locking in and protecting some gains. Capital One, we're flat on that trade now. I'm looking for on Capital One, I think we can get a move back down to about 101. I think we can get a move down to 101, especially if the S&P breaks down on us. Apple's still weak. You're seeing the VIX trying to move up a little bit. Gold is trying to get a little bit of a push up. EQT is pushing up with nat gas. Capital One. Hopefully we can get some more downside on Capital One. That one's coming in nicely. So the Capital One 200 daily moving average is sitting below 101. So I think that's where we can get a move back down to. All right, AMD's falling even more now. Let's see if we can get some more downside. Again, we're protecting the trade at 110.60 now with a stop loss, in the money stop loss. I'm seeing the SPY trickling a little bit lower. We do have this nice little 10-minute tail candle, which should be decent resistance. Steel stocks are still absolutely weak, but they're getting a big bid off of the lows for steel stocks. Home builders are not following suit, though. You have to wonder if home builders are going to catch a bid at all, because they did see a pretty big down day yesterday. Coinbase is acting well. All right, AMD is trickling lower, guys. Let's make sure we keep lowering that stop. I'm going to lower it now to 110.45. We're locking in at least 30-cent gain here on AMD. 110.45, locking in gains on AMD. Here we go. Let's see if we can get some more downside. Tesla's still up on the session nicely. Palantir's acting well. Pfizer's weak. AI rolled over to the negative side. Amazon strong. Apple's still down. Nvidia's still weak. Nat gas is trying to push up, so EQT kind of wicked us out of that stop loss, and now it's moving right back up to the high side. You're still seeing weakness in some of the China names. The Dow is weak today. The Nasdaq is negative. The dollar's positive, but definitely softened from its lows. The VIX is up about 3.4%. Netflix is down. Tesla's still up. Oil's up nicely. Gold turned positive. Silver turned positive. AMD's trickling lower. Here we go. Let's see if we can get more downtrending and price action. I still have a downside target. Believe it or not, my measured move on the spiders today takes us all the way down to a pierce of 414. So that's where I could see the S&P going today. I'm not saying it's my base case, but the math is showing that we 414 on the spiders, just a pierce of 414 on the SPY. So that's quite a ways away. I mean, we're talking about a potential move down of at least another percentage point down. So just be mindful of that. That's what the math of this gap down and breaking of the overall trend from yesterday shows. Palantir's still surging higher. Nat gas is trying to get another push. Energy's still acting well. Finding a little bit of resistance right now. AMD, we're still in the money. We're basically slightly out of the money on Capital One. Commercial real estate had a nice bounce. Home builders are taking a breather. Apple's still weak. Tesla's strong. Microsoft's mixed. Amazon's strong. Dollar's softening some more now. All right, I'm going to move my stop loss on AMD to 110.26 now, 110.26. So we're locking in 50 cents per share. So I have 200 shares short in AMD at 110.76. So we're locking in at least $100 profit here. And it's moving down. Look at this, guys. Look at this. All right, I'm going to lock in a little bit more on AMD. 110.15 now. 110.15. Here we go. It's starting to fall a little bit more. Let's see if we can get a test of this low. Even if it hits this white trend line down here, I would lock in those gains. All right, I'm moving it to 110.01 stop loss, 110.01. We're locking in 75-cent gain times 200 shares. Let's go. Come on, let's see if we can get some more downside. Capital One's pushing up, so that one's going slightly against us, just a little, ever so slightly. You're seeing Microsoft soften up, losing the intraday 50 moving average. Look at this move down on AMD. Nice, beautiful trade. Locking in profits no matter what. I'm seeing the spiders trying to catch a bid here. Look at AMD. All right, I'm locking in more now. 110.90, 110.90, 109.90. Okay, I'm covering AMD here. 109.60, 109.60 cover AMD. Boom. I just covered AMD at 109.60 for a big, big win here on AMD. We're talking about a win of over $1.14 times 200 shares. Wonderful, wonderful job. So I covered at 109.60. Now we just have our Capital One trade to manage. Beautiful job on AMD. $1.14. That's a nice trade. That's a beautiful, beautiful trade. Let's look at the spiders here just so we can see what the market dynamics are looking like. AMD's even heading lower now. You can put a trailer. You can take half off and leave runners. Lots of action happening. Natural gas is pushing up higher. I'm looking at EQT again. I'm going to pick up some EQT at 936.45 EQT because I'm seeing natural gas starting to soar. So 36.45 long EQT now. 36.45 long EQT. I'm seeing nat gas pushing up some more. We're still short Capital One. Nat gas is surging here, guys. Nat gas is doing a nice surge. My stop loss on EQT is going to be basically below this wick here. 36.38. Hard stop. Hard stop on EQT. But look at this move in natural gas. So we should start to see, whoops, if I can type correctly. We should start to see EQT outperform here with nat gas trying to go back to the positive side. But a nice little reversal on nat gas coming in. And that's what you want to see. You got that hourly close back inside your bottoming tail, and now you're getting follow-through momentum to the upside. So that's definitely a powerful move in nat gas. Happy to see that aspect. Obviously, we are long UNG, which will continue to just monitor our position. All right, let's move back to Capital One chart. Capital One is still surging and strong today, and that's part and parcel due to the regionals. All right, EQT is coming down. AMD is still acting weak right now. Markets are dropping a little bit lower here. Nat gas is still pumping to the high side. Costco's weak, Walmart's weak, Baba's seeing some downside. Baba looks like it wants to trend lower, so Baba's actually a potential short as well. I just don't like that it's gap down. They love to reverse stocks that gap up and gap down. Wow, weakness in AMD is just immense. Even copper stocks like Freeport-McMoRan took an initial dive in the morning. Microsoft's still hanging on to its initial support. AMD's still falling sharply lower. They're starting to see a lot more mega caps starting to roll over, seeing sell side pressure. So right now, 226 stocks are down in the S&P. 236, 192 down. The worst performing one is WTW. And then steel stocks are certainly lagging as well, but they did have a bounce off of the lows. Natural gas is pushing up. EQT is about to stop us out for a small little loss. Nvidia is softening up, seeing some weakness. The spiders are now breaking down. Spiders are breaking down. Capital One, we're just slightly out of the money. AMD is still falling. Meta is starting to curl over. So one stock that's holding up well is Microsoft, despite it being slightly negative. It's just really stuck in a sideways range. We're having Capital One start to fall. Whoa, big dump on the spiders. Big dump on the spiders. I got stopped out at EQT for a small loss, but look at that dump on the spiders. Wow. Capital One should come down now. Capital One should come down. That was a big, big dump on the SPY. And if you get a bearish close, a 5-minute close below this green bar, you're likely going to head lower. And again, I do have a downside target on the spiders today of a Pierce of 414. So just keep that in mind. I may short the S&P as well, especially if we get a bearish close. Nat gas is surging up higher here. Big bounce now coming in the spiders. So that might have just been a fake out, shake out wick. We will certainly see and watch it closely. But there's heavy volume coming in on that candle, which means we may continue to see more downside. Nat gas is trying to turn positive. It's soaring and roaring. Capital One softening up some more. Spiders have had a bounce off of that low. Nat gas is still trying to move up. Big bounce in the spiders coming in. EQT, I'm interested in maybe AR and EQT again on the long side. Let's look at AR. All right, I'm going to buy some more EQT here at 36.40. Long EQT again, 36.40. Stop loss will be now basically at 36.30. So we're still short Capital One. We're long EQT at 36.40. Spiders are looking like they want to come down again. Still seeing Nat gas holding up pretty well. Bitcoin's trying to move up back to the high side. Capital One, we're in the money now. Coinbase is trying to break out to the upside. Interesting to see coin moving higher. Obviously, Bitcoin's holding up. Bitcoin likes the dollar softening. All right, I'm going to put a break-even stop loss on Capital One at 101.70. Sorry, in the money 1 cent. So I'm going to put a stop loss on Capital One at 101.70. So I'm protecting the trade now since we are in the money. 101.70 stop loss. Nvidia is pushing up. Coinbase is trying to break out and push up. So EQT is now moving up a little bit more now. Nat gas is trying to go to the positive side. All right, I'm going to move my stop loss on Capital One to 101.61. I'm going to lock in 10 cents on the short side. I am going to lock in 10 cents on the short side. Here we go. We're moving lower here. So 101.61 stop. Every 10 cents we fall, I'll lower my stop by 10 cents. Coinbase. I'm watching Coinbase now. Coinbase is actually trying to break out here. And if we get a retrace on coin back to about 61.70, I may consider going long coin. I'm going to have to end the stream in about 10 minutes or about 5 minutes. All right, so EQT is at our level. Again, a hard stop below this 36.32. Hard stop at 101.60. One there. So we're protecting gains on Capital One, and we're just mitigating the downside risk on EQT. I'm looking at Coinbase for a long because I'm seeing Bitcoin acting well. With the dollar softening, Coinbase is certainly liking that. All right, so Capital One may stop us out here in about 4 cents for a small gain. Capital One's almost going to stop us out there. We're still actually living to fight another day here, or another candle. Seeing natural gas soften up a little bit. So I'm going to move my stop loss back on EQT up to about 36.38. So I'm only risking 2 cents on the trade, because if nat gas starts to soften up some more, EQT will see some downside. Coinbase Meta is still acting weak. Spiders look like they want to trickle down a little bit more, as I'm seeing the dollar trying to catch a little bit of a micro bid. EQT's moving up. EQT's moving up. Capital One, we're still in the money. Looking at home builders, they're still very weak. Some steel stocks caught a nice bounce. Coin's still trying to break out. Amazon's had a big move to the high side and now trying to soften up its price action just a little bit. Nvidia's starting to roll over a little bit more. Spiders are trickling lower here. Spiders are trickling lower. Nvidia's coming down. In terms of market stocks right now, in the S&P, you have 258 stocks down, 171 stocks up. The best sectors right now are still energy and financial services. The rest are red. All right, I just got stopped out of Capital One, 101.61 for a 10-cent gain. So I had 300 shares there, so it's a nice little gain on Capital One. So now we're just long EQT, which we're flat on. Intrigued about Coinbase on the long side. All right, I'm going to pick up some coin here at 61.90. 61.90 on the long side. 61.90, 1/6 position on the long side. And then I'll do one more add if we came into these pivot tops around a Pierce of 61. And then my stop loss is below these pivots, a close below 60.44. So we're long Coinbase at 61.90 here. And we're long EQT. I'll only add to this position twice. Hard stop at 60. What is it? 60.45. 60.45. Hard stop on coin. The Dow is still weak, so I believe we have a downtrend, confirming downtrend today with the transports down. Yep, we do have a confirming downtrend today, so just be mindful of that. EQT is trying to push up with nat gas. Nat gas is still trying to move higher. Apple's still weak right now. Nvidia is still weak. Wow, look at that move on Capital One. Holy smokes, Capital One. Good thing we put a break-even stop on Capital One because that one just ripped. That one just ripped higher. EQT, I'm going to move a break-even stop loss on EQT to 36.40 now, to 36.40. So protect that trade. Coin is trying to push up as well. We're seeing the spiders trying to move higher here. AMD is still acting weak right now. So we're just watching EQT, which is moving higher. I'm going to move a break-even stop loss to, or sorry, in the money stop loss to 36.44. So protecting the trade now. Look at this beautiful surge on EQT. I'm moving a stop loss to 36.44. Protect in the money trade. We're long coin as well, and we're long EQT. Look at this surge in EQT. Coin's coming down, but EQT is moving up. Protect this EQT trade now. I think we can get a target of about. I honestly could see us moving and testing this wick high up here again. I would definitely take profits up there. Coin's coming down a little bit more now. Coinbase still coming down. I'll add at 60.90, so basically $1 lower. I will add to coin. I'm going to have to call the stream to an end soon in a few minutes, but we've banked quite a few winners. We've banked on Boyle, we've banked on Capital One, we've banked on AMD, we've banked on EQT, we've lost once on EQT, we've won one on EQT, and now we're back in the money on EQT with a in the money stop loss, which it's about to get triggered. Right now it just got triggered on EQT, so a 4-cent gain on EQT times 400 shares. So another stop triggered. And that's okay. That's still money in our pocket. 36.44. So now we only have Coinbase on the long side, which we're slightly underwater. I'll add at 60.90, but a hard stop below here so we know the risk. Let's look at what the spiders are doing here. So spiders are still trying to put in what looks to be a little bit of a bull flag pattern. So again, how to play the spiders is you could go long here with a stop below this wick. Coin's starting to come in heavy, so is Nvidia. Let's look at AMD. AMD, I may short AMD here because I'm seeing Nvidia start to weak. Let's just look at the other semis here. Semis, they're looking okay. A little weak right now. Let's look at AR, another nat gas stock that's trying to push up. All right, I'm going to grab some AMD short here at 109.67. 109.67. Short AMD. 109.67. Stop loss is a 5-minute close above these wicks. So 109.67 short AMD. AMD's push, so we're long coin at 61.90. Once it's a starter position, we're short AMD. But if AMD gets a 5-minute close back above these key pivots here, we're talking 109.85, I will do a stop out of that trade. So we're risking about 18 cents on the AMD trade, and we're long coin. So I think AMD has a chance to probably give up most of these gains. I'm seeing weakness in Nvidia. Probably going to be some profit taking ahead of Nvidia's earnings, just in case they don't come in as good as what the market is expecting. But the Russell's where the strength is today. So small caps are leading the charge. Palantir ripping higher. Ford, AI, SoFi, Coin. All right, look at AMD coming down now, guys. That's a beautiful sight to see. That is a beautiful sight to see. Home builders are still weak. Coinbase is obviously fallen from the highs here. Amazon's starting to roll over. Microsoft is giving it up now. Coinbase is still coming down, guys. So this is not healthy for Coinbase right now. But that's okay. It does have a chance to move higher, especially if the dollar softens up a little bit more and that volume lightens up. I'm going to add to my coin one more time here at 60.90. At 60.90, I will add to my coin. So we are approaching that level very, very closely. Or actually, the level's around 60.87. All right, AMD's falling lower here. All right, I just added to coin here at 60.89. 60.89 coin. 60.90 and 60.89. So now my average on coin is sitting here at 61.44. 61.44. All right, I'm going to put a break even, or sorry, an in the money stop loss on AMD here at 109.59. 109.59. And as AMD falls, if it triggers this bear flag break, I mean, we should have a move down to about 108.35. Look at this dip on AMD coming in. All right, I'm going to move my stop loss now on AMD a little bit more, 109.51. 109.51. So we're locking in 16-cent gains. Hard stop loss on coin here. Let's see what we can get here. So we've banked quite a few winners. We've banked quite a few winners, which is good to see. And let's see if we can continue to provide some alpha in this space. I just got stopped out on coin. No, I'm still in coin. Or sorry, I'm still in AMD. All right, I just got stopped out for a small gain on AMD at 109.51. So stopped out on AMD, 109.51. And if this goes back to the high end of the range, we can look for another short entry. So a nice little 16-cent gain on AMD. 16-cent gain on AMD. We're still long Coinbase, average 61.45, hard stop down here. I am seeing the spiders trying to push up. Bitcoin's trying to catch another little bid. So Microsoft's a little weak right now, so is Apple, which is going to weigh on this index. But AMD's back to the high side now. And again, if we get a push back up to the high end of this range, now we're looking at a move to 109.85. I'll look to short AMD again. Let's see if we can get Coinbase action to move a little bit higher. Amazon softening up. So mega caps are seeing a little bit of distribution occurring right now. All right, we're almost in the money on coin. Having a nice little bounce to the upside. So AMD is putting in this micro bear flag. And it does look like it wants to break lower. So keep it on the radar for a short. We've won a couple times already on that. But now that it's over 10:30, I'm going to have to call this stream to an end. What I'm looking for is a move back to the high side for coin around 62.50. I will take profits there. If I get in the money on coin, I'm going to put a break-even stop loss at 61.44 and a hard stop loss here at 60.45. So I'm protecting the downside. And then if we get in the money, we protect the trade. And again, if this breaks this bear flag, you're looking like you're going to have a move down to 108.23 on AMD. On that note, again, the mathematical downside target on the SPY that I have today, believe it or not, it could actually take you down to a Pierce of 104. So just keep that in mind. Pierce of 414 is a downside level on the SPY that I could see happening today. On that note, thank you all for tuning in. It's been a lovely, lovely day trading session, and we will see you on the charts sometime else. The stream has been a little bit different today because I am in the process of moving, so I don't have all my monitors and my actual studio equipment running, all my marketing equipment and Roland and Aircasters. So I'm just doing it off of TradingView's platform because it's easy. You don't need all the fancy bells and whistles, and it is a way that I can still provide trading opportunities and keeping a pulse on the market. So thank you all for tuning in. Definitely protect trades on coin on the long side. And just wait to see if the spiders push up and break to the high of the chart. On that note, thank you all, and we'll see you on the charts tomorrow.